In Canada, over 3.8 million people are living with asthma, making it one of the most common chronic respiratory diseases nationwide. However, despite national guidelines recommending evidence-based care, gaps persist between best practice and current clinical practice. For example, did you know that asthma is both under and overdiagnosed in Canada? As well, more than half of patients labeled with asthma have never had a lung function test, one of the gold standard methods to confirm a diagnosis of asthma. Other key gaps in care include inconsistent documentation and electronic medical records, difficulties in managing patients with uncontrolled asthma, and identifying those who would benefit from seeing a specialist, like a respirologist. To help bridge the gaps in asthma care, our lab developed the Provider Asthma Assessment Form, or PAAF. The PAAF is a new point-of-care asthma e-tool incorporating best practice guidelines and with an embedded decision support algorithm to help guide providers in their practice. The PAF was part of a larger intervention at an academic family health team where we trained providers on the education and use of the new tool in their practice. The purpose of this intervention was to evaluate whether PAF implementation had an impact on best practice asthma diagnosis and management in primary care. To do this, we did a pre-post observational study at the family health team, giving us two groups, baseline and post-implementation. We found that there was an 18.1% increase in the number of lung function tests requested by providers in the post-implementation period, but this is not yet translated into clinic. Only about a third of patients in both groups had had their asthma confirmed by gold standard measures. We did find an improvement in medications, however, as an increased number of patients with uncontrolled or symptomatic asthma were on a controller medication or an inhaler. Lastly, we looked at provider satisfaction. They found that the tool was helpful in their practice, they had the information they needed to use it, and it was relatively easy to find and use. But the main barrier was a lack of sufficient time and a standard clinic appointment to use the new tool. Overall, we found there's perceived and measurable merit in widespread implementation of the PAF in primary care. But evolving technologies, such as the use of AI, may improve the form's usability in a clinical setting. All in all, forms such as the PAF can help improve asthma care delivery for all. Thank you.